This is our new AllPro XTS foot. This foot actually has an internal elastomer that will allow you to adjust the shock and rotation, so the vertical shock absorption and the rotation resistance of the foot. In order to do that, you'll actually need to change a bumper out. Now, the foot is going to come with a bumper installed that should be appropriate for your patient weight from our testing, but you may find that a patient may want to do something that requires a more loose or softer torsion, more compression. You're going to want to change a bumper. There are 5 different stiffnesses of bumpers that you can choose from. Now, those would be ordered separately. You'll call customer service and get a bumper in. What will arrive with that bumper will also be a spanner wrench. That wrench will fit here on what we call the closure nut on the bottom that holds this thing completely together. The nice thing with this system is the way it's set up, it protects from ingress of dirt, water, anything else that might get into that higher activity patient's device and tear it up. This is a really nice sealed system. Now, I have placed this in a vise with some soft compressive material, and I'm holding just onto the carbon right here. You'll want to use a vise with some soft jaws. Certainly you want to use something that's not going to dig into the carbon itself. Now, in order to change the bumper out, I'm going to place the spanner wrench right in here. It is going to use a 3/8 inch drive ratchet. Now, one thing that's important, you can take this off with any ratchet, but to put it back on, you really need to torque it. Right here on my spanner wrench is my torque value, and that is 44 foot-pounds, not inch-pounds, foot-pounds. So I'll need a spanner wrench that can go up to that. Before I take that off, I need to make sure I have a spanner wrench to put, or excuse me, I need to make sure I have a torque wrench to put it back on with. So let's go ahead and do that. All right, so we're gonna go ahead and take our spanner wrench, and we're gonna put it right on there. We're gonna grab a hold of that nut, and we'll push it off. It does help to have a nice long wrench to get this thing started, because it does take a little bit of force. What you're doing when you break it free initially is there are some sealing rings here on the inside to make sure that this thing keeps the water and debris out, just to make sure nothing can get down in there. You're going to break those free again as you pull what's called the end cap loose. Yep. So that end cap pulls loose. It will pop free. It houses the elastomers. So I can now release this elastomer. Takes a little bit off, and it's a little greasy, so you might want something to grab a hold of it with. There we go. So now I can switch this to any of the elastomers I might want. Now, this is about to go back on a patient that this elastomer is appropriate for, so we'll go ahead and put that one back in. We do want to make sure that we re-index the pins, compress that back together. So when we go to reinsert this, there's a small dimple on one of these larger splines, so there are 3 of those larger splines, and those are going to make sure that you index this thing correctly so that you can't accidentally put it in the wrong way. Now, obviously, the pins are going to line up as well, but there's a small dimple here that goes right here in the front, matches up with the small dimple right here on the face. So we'll take those, match them up, and we'll go right back together. Now, before you put the closure nut back on, remember, this gets no Loctite, no Loctite. This will go back together with just the torque from the spanner wrench and be held in place without any problem with all the extra seals. So I'm go ahead and take my closure nut. I'm going to start this by hand. I want to make sure that it threads securely. You'll feel it as it kind of re-engages the seals. Put that right back down over the top of it. Get the grease back off. With the spanner wrench, one thing that you need to make sure of, first of all, that you use the right value, 44 foot-pounds written right here on the wrench. When you put it on, the spanner wrench should be 90 degrees from the angle of the torque wrench. This is important to get the right torque value because it does extend past the tip if you put it out here. So you're going to actually be getting higher torque. Don't miss this. It's really important. So you're wanting to get up to 44 foot-pounds. So I'm going to mark that on my spanner or on my torque wrench here, so I know I get to the right place, and I'm going to torque it up to that. This may take a few times around, depending on how strong you are on putting it on. Some of y'all might do more than me. Okay, bring that on around. Right there. All right. So I've now reinstalled this. It's nice and flush across the top. You'll see that there's no big gaps here, no looseness. So now we have our bumper exchanged. We pull it out. Everything should look good. We're nice and closed on the bottom. Everything's back together and sealed, ready for that patient to take it out. Pretty simple, pretty quick. And really the nice thing about that is it makes this entire thing field serviceable. So if anything tears up, I'm really able to get in here and quickly make any repairs that I might need to do, or change the shock absorption or torque values the patient would experience on their limb.